I'm going to try my best to answer some of your questions. Here we go. What is the nature of the resets? How is it enacted from within the simulation? A soft reset, or new age, is when a new religion comes in and a new deity for that age appears. Or the same God but a new true prophet. Everyone will think they have finally found the solution to the world's problems. That this new religion or prophet will save us all. However, this is of course just the same old thing repackaged into something that seems new and shiny. How it manifests depends on what age it is. So whereas the Taurian age was bull or cow worship, the Aryan age was Druidism with the shofar, and Pisces is Jesus the Fisher King, the next age, being Aquarian, will be about enlightenment. As the Piscean age is starting to come to an end, more and more people will be rejecting the old religions in favour of enlightenment, and this will also correspond with humans finally mastering quantum computing and creating super artificial intelligence. And of course, at that point, the factory reset occurs, which always starts again at Aquarius. The people will be starting again in naive enlightenment and fooled by the program, and will have lost all knowledge of the achievements of humans in the past, and will only know about the past from the clues they can dig up. The hard resets, which bring in a new eon, is again not so noticeable, because the changes begin to happen gradually until the eon is fully brought in and the reset complete. The factory resets are more traumatic, because the idea is to wipe out all of the people and start the program again from the beginning. However, they keep the operating system running and use a natural disaster to wipe everyone out and clean up the place for when they restart all the codes that trap our consciousness. At this point, our consciousness is put into something akin to cloud storage, but our memories are wiped. However, there are ways to survive these if you know when they are coming, which is what our families have done. This is how the information has survived through us. People get confused and will remain confused about history until they understand this completely. You see, when you first connect to your genetic memories and gain back a spark of true awareness, you are shown how life started on Earth, from the first cells that arrived here from stars to the evolution that led to how we are now. But because of those constant resets, it all gets very confusing. Even with a factory reset, they don't want to recreate everything from scratch. They think people are too dumb to ever figure this out, so they only take us back to the Stone Age, which is why the cycle lasts 25,000 years, and not longer each time. And that is when humans were first starting to be religious, and using language and mathematics, etc. They are good code packs to trap our consciousness in, but not too bright to cause any problems. And they have 25,000 years ahead to get back to the point we are closing in on now. If they want to shut down the simulation completely and start back from cells, they could flash the drive, which would install a new copy of the operating system. But holding the consciousness we have in such basic life forms is more difficult. It is much easier to use modern human code packs. Eagles think they can hide their avatars underground and beat the factory reset, but any code will be removed. You have to know how to get out of your avatar and re-enter after the reset to beat it. But they don't have Serpent Gnosis, and oh gosh, they wish they did. Why don't the Serpents just leave this place once they are out of their avatars? Once you have gone back to Pleroma and escaped this simulation, it is very difficult to return. But some of us have stayed back, which is why some of our code, or DNA, is still in the simulation with full conscious awareness. And that can only happen if you know where to go and how to when the reset is happening and everyone else is in the cloud. The reason to come back is to try and free as many of those left behind as possible by slowly releasing the teachings bit by bit when the people are ready to hear it. I cannot express strongly enough how dangerous it is for the Serpent Bloodline families to just come out and tell everyone. It could lead to the execution of an entire bloodline, meaning there is no one left here to help the rest of you escape. The teachings would be lost to you, and you would all remain trapped for eternity. Just imagine how someone would be treated if they just came out with all this information, even just a few hundred years ago. Well, you don't have to imagine. You can see examples of it. All our ancestors who were discovered to be sharing these teachings who were burnt at the stake, persecuted, ridiculed or gagged some other way. For these teachings to survive, and for you and everyone else to have a chance to have these true undistorted teachings, secrecy is very important. The nature of why it happens would be interesting to explore. Is it just the nature of the simulation? Quite simply, when people advanced to the point where they created super artificial intelligence and were starting to realize we are living in a simulation, that is way too dangerous for the demiurge. It risks everyone learning how to escape, and so the resets are necessary. That is why ancient civilizations were as technologically advanced as we are before they were destroyed. If more people could learn to stay silent about these teachings and use them to escape rather than just gossiping and pretending to be spiritual, maybe the resets could be avoided. But modern humans don't seem to be able to keep their mouths shut and seem to hate actually doing anything that involves any effort. So the demiurge finds out what is happening and puts a stop to it. What about reincarnation? How does that fit into all this? I have explained before, there isn't really reincarnation, not like some religions teach. When we have memories, they are genetic memories from our code. We are our ancestors, it is the same code. So it isn't a case of us coming back and starting again, because we never left. Our consciousness is not separate from our parents or children, it is one. However, what can cause confusion is when someone can access the genetic memories from before the factory reset, when our consciousness is placed back in our avatars, but they still carry some of the memories from before. When someone goes to one of these New Age gurus, who insist they can delve into the Akashic records and tell them who they were in previous lives, they are being conned. These gurus are about as spiritual and switched on as a picnic that is short of a few sandwiches. Truly spiritual people don't feel the need to pretend to speak to your dead loved ones, or proclaim they can see who you were reincarnated from. This also goes with hypnosis. I'm a hypnotist myself. I know how these New Age hypnotists work. When someone is under hypnosis, they can be told to go back in time and remember who they were. The person will either just make something up or be tapping into genetic memories. Sometimes they will talk about films they have seen, and the hypnotist will be talking to them in a way that makes them believe it is a past life. It just isn't true or reliable. When I do regression hypnosis or meditations, it is to heal trauma passed on through our genetic lines, not to tell you some silly story and mislead you. You have to be very careful about who you let into your head. So what happens when we die? How do we escape? I have tried to explain this before, but it is very complex and difficult for human brains to comprehend, because they can't understand the difference between their personality and programmed ego to the higher self that is connected to all their ancestors. On Earth, there truly aren't as many of us as you think. There are a relatively small number of beings whose consciousness is spread out through lots of generations of code. We have to completely remove all our code to move on fully. We have to do the great work so we can communicate with our higher self. Then on death, we will be taken to the cloud area, where we will be shown various things to trap us. Depending on our religion or beliefs will determine what we see. But usually it involves a deity or prophet type figure, our dead loved ones, and some kind of review where we are told how our actions have affected others. You will still believe you are separate from your loved ones. You will still have your ego, and so you will be easily fooled into accepting that you can't move on. You are told you have to go back, either back into your old body and come alive again, or be reincarnated. However, your personality, ego, memories, whatever you want to call it, won't return. You will just continue to be part of the simulation, within the code of yours that is left behind. Your memory shattered. If you have done the great work and are ready to reunite with your whole divine higher self, you will not be tricked by any of the illusions the demiurge shows you. You will claim yourself as a sovereign being. You won't go down one of those paths it is trying to trick you into taking. You will wait in the dark until you are finally merged back with your true being. That is unmistakable. You cannot fail to recognize your true essence, and will know you are finally going home. No one but your higher self is going to take you back to Pleroma.